In 1870, the first census published by the U.S. government after the end of the Civil War reported a Black population of approximately 5 million. About 3% of them were attending school, and the illiteracy rate was over 70%. The census also listed 10,000 white people employed in some form of show business, including musicians. No statistics were given for Blacks' occupations, but it is evident that very few, if any, of the recently freed slaves of the South or the previously free Blacks of the North were involved in the ownership or management of the theaters, the writing or publishing of songs, or performing on a professional level in road shows or stock companies. At the end of the Civil War, Black participation in American show business was virtually non-existent. In 1865, when Blacks first stepped off the plantation onto the American stage, they found that the Black images in the theater had preceded them by many years. These images had been created by white actors performing in burnt cork makeup in blackface, performing either as a single acts or in small companies. The performers were called Ethiopian delineators. And the type of amusement presented by a troupe of blackface artists was called Negro minstrelsy. As early as December 30th of 1790, a Mr. Greupner blackened up and appeared at the Old Federal Street, Boston, Massachusetts, and playing the part of a poor African slave in the play Originated. The slave that sang a Negro song. In 1815, Pot Pie Herbert blackened his face and sang a song on the stage entitled The Siege of Pittsburgh at the Albany, New York Theater. It was reported when the curtain rose, the audience was astonished to see a white man blackened up and in costume, delineating a full-blooded African. The performers created such excitement that the audience called for several encores, and they continued until the manager was compelled to apologize for the exhaustion of the singer. Another popular blackface artist of the pre-Civil War period was George Nichols, who was originally a clown. Nichols first sang Jim Crow in 1834 as a clown and later as an Ethiopian delineator. It was said that he was first conceived the idea from a Black banjo player known from New Orleans to Cincinnati as Picayune Butler. Another Black from New Orleans known as Old Cornbread furnished Nichols with many of the songs which brought him fame and financial reward. In 1843, a group of white musicians and singers consisting of Dan Emmett playing the fiddle and banjo, Dick Pelham playing tambourine, Frank Bauer manipulating the bones, and William Whitlock on the banjo, played an engagement at the Chatham Theater in New York City, and became the first combination in the United States to announce themselves as minstrels. They were billed as the Virginia Minstrels, and the age of Negro minstrelsy was born that evening. The Virginia Minstrels scored an enormous success, and soon after, the Kentucky Minstrels and the original Christie Minstrels were organized, the latter eventually becoming the best known of the earlier companies. The early white minstrels attempted to present an accurate interpretation of what they conceived to be Negro life on the plantation. The first part of these early minstrel shows was always the best feature. It consisted of a pathetic and sympathetic ballads constructed to touch the hearts of their audiences, while in men furnished spice of life stories and told jokes that sent the audience home in a happy frame of mind. In these days, the members of the company appeared in the first part dressed as humble laborers or slave hands of the Southern plantation, and later changed to the dandy darkies of the North. A description of this type of entertainment is provided by an advertisement for an engagement of the Virginia Minstrels in London, England, published in the New York Clipper on January 6, 1912. It reads, "New and novel entertainment, grand Ethiopian concerts by the 4 highly celebrated Virginia minstrels from America, who will appear in London on Monday, June 19, 1843, to the citizens of London and Westminster." The Virginia minstrels would, with great respect, say that in their delineations of the sports and pastimes of Southern slave race of America, they offer an exhibition that is both new and original, which they illustrate through the medium of songs, refrains, lectures, and dances accompanying themselves on instruments of a particular nature, which in their hands discourse the most exquisite music. Their melodies have all been produced at great toil and expense from among the sable inhabitants of the southern states in America, the subject of each ascribing the manner in which the slaves celebrate their holidays, which commence at the gathering in of the sugar and cotton crops. And they flatter themselves that from the great success they attend their efforts in their own country to introduce not only a chaste and pleasing school of Negroism, but also a true copy of Ethiopian life. They cannot fail to please all who honor them with their patronage, their exhibition being void of any objectionable feature, either in word, look, or motion, which could offend the most superstitious. Minstrelsy created by white men in blackface, who purported to give a true delineation of slave amusements on the southern plantations, provided a natural vehicle by which blacks could gain access to American show business. Who else could give a more natural and authentic portrayal of slave lives than former slaves, real Negroes, the genuine art? Although blacks either in western and northern states shortly before and after the end of the Civil War, it was through minstrelsy that the black performer raised himself in the ranks of the amateur to the professional. The minstrel show format facilitated this transition. The first part consisting of singing, dancing, and a few jokes, accompanied by music played on a banjo and tambourine, were all skills that the slaves had used in amusing themselves and their masters. The first black companies that took the road capitalized on the fact that the natural curiosity of whites in the North to see former slaves present an entertainment of song and dance would be enough in itself to guarantee packed theaters and financial success. These early performers did not use blackface makeup, and white audiences were astonished to see a company of former slaves ranging in skin color from ebony black to almost white. During the first 15 years after the end of the Civil War, minstrel shows continued to grow in popularity, and by the end of the 1870s, they were among the most popular amusements in the United States. The size of the black companies grew from about a dozen performers to an average of over 20. And as the number of skilled musicians grew, the minstrel bands also grew in size and included a wide variety of instruments. The street parade, led by the band, soon became one of the most prominent and popular features of a minstrel engagement. Charles B. Hicks, a black man, put together the first company of genuine black minstrels. Hicks claimed to be a former slave, but it is evident that he had considerable show business management experience and was a talented singer and interlocutor before he organized his own troupe. Being of fair complexion, he could have easily passed for white and could have been previously employed by a circus or a white minstrel company. Hicks organized his company in Macon, Georgia, in the spring of 1865, selecting its members from ex-slaves who were giving extemporaneous performances in the barbershops and other places of amusement in and around the city. Using his personal finances, Hicks provided costumes and musical instruments and went on the road with his troupe under the banner, the Georgia Minstrels. Charles B. Hicks deserves the credit of being the man who first introduced blacks into the mainstream of American show business.